Hey guys, JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting. All right, coming to you with the next segment. So this is my process of using my understanding of the universe to develop self-love and self-validation. All right. So this just comes from an understanding of, how the universe works. And throughout my entire life, this has been a deep passion of mine, is to really understand like the deeper aspects of the universe and of spirituality and how everything sort of works together in on itself. So I want to give you a little bit of my understanding that I've got through years of study and through looking into my own life and looking at different aspects of life and the universe and just trying to connect the dots. So some of the ways I do that is through understanding, spirituality, understanding psychology, understanding, science, theoretical physics, metaphysics, understanding different aspects of how we come to develop our understanding of consciousness. And it's pretty cool because it's a wild thing, but when you truly understand it, it gives you the power of being able to really understand like how your mind and how you understand consciousness is formed. Because for a lot of my life, I was taught to believe, just like more than likely you were taught to believe, that consciousness is developed in our brain and it's a result of our brain. Now, exciting things, but what leading scientists in consciousness, metaphysics, and theoretical physics are coming to understand, and it will come out in the future years, is that consciousness isn't formed in our brain. It'll become mainstream, but basically, sorry, leading science on consciousness now has it as an understanding that consciousness is a frequency and that our brains have little transmitters in them that pick it up. Now, the way to understand this is we have to understand a bit about metaphysics, a bit about consciousness, a bit about theoretical physics in relation to string theory, but also we have to understand quantum physics. We have to understand the quantum realm, because leading scientists at the moment are understanding that consciousness isn't formed anywhere but the quantum realm. So in our subconscious, we have these things called quantum microtubula. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. But basically what it is, and the way I describe it as how I understand it, is think of a crystal. You shine a light into a crystal and that light might scatter out into 1,000 different pieces. Now, how these quantum microtubula work is they work in the opposite way. So when we understand consciousness as a frequency, right, the frequency comes into these microtubula and it's scattered. It's a collective consciousness, right? So what that microtubula does is through quantum randomness, and this is a crazy thing, but through quantum randomness, it refines it. So from being a collective consciousness into being a singular consciousness. Now, not to get too deep on you, but basically, when we understand this at a high level, and I always say, do research into it, figure it out. Independent research is the best kind of research, because it's all about, especially when we're talking about self-validation, it's about us making our own decisions or creating our own theses based on information that's presented to us, and then coming to our own conclusions based on that. Now, it's not to say that I think I know more than anyone else. It's that I take data and I connect the dots to what feels right to me. Okay. And what this does when we understand this is we understand that we have three forms of consciousness. We have our logical brain, our left hemisphere. We have our emotional brain, okay, our right hemisphere. And then we have a form of consciousness that is the higher consciousness, okay? And that higher consciousness is the other end of that feed of that frequency of consciousness. Alrighty. So when we understand this, right, we're able to start to understand that in any moment we are connected to the universe and not disjointed from the universe. But what we also have to understand is our brain, okay, that interprets and understands and sort of, is used to define this consciousness and gives us the ability to speak and to reason and to understand and to analyze and to, create emotions, create feelings, and all of these magical things that we can do with our brain. Okay. And what it does is it allows us to understand how our mind works. And the overarching, my overarching beliefs is that the way consciousness works is it's not anything that happens to me, but the whole point is that I experience what happens. So you got to understand my brain right now, okay? Its whole understanding and perception of my external environment is through sensory experience, through sight, through sound, through smell, through taste, through feeling. Okay. All of what I think is being real or my reality or the constructed reality around me is by sensory experience. So when we understand that, okay, and we connect the dots, what that means is the whole point of life in terms of if there was an overarching reason for life and a reason for me being alive and for me being conscious is to experience. Alrighty. So when we understand that at a deeper level, what we're able to do is we're able to separate out from our ego and our emotion, because we are not our ego or our emotion. We are the higher form of consciousness, okay, that is experiencing life through our ego, life through our emotions. Do you get it? It's pretty cool. But what it also does is it allows us in our psychology to be able to detach from situations, to be able to detach from things. But it allows us to also understand the importance that I am not my thoughts. I am not my logic. I am not my ego. Okay. I am not my emotions. I am not my feelings. These are just tools that my brain, like my brain is just a tool, like my body is a tool. Okay. To be able to experience, to be able to get through life, to be able to interact with other people. So, to understand this further is, well, what's the point of an ego? Well, the ego is so that I can create a separate identity from me and you, so that we're able to have an individual experience. Because if we didn't have a sense of self or a sense of self-identity, we wouldn't understand or be able to differentiate between my experiences and your experiences. Do you sort of get it? But also, what is the point of emotions and feelings? Well, emotions and feelings allow us to connect at a deeper level. They allow us to integrate and connect together. Because if we didn't have emotions and feelings, we would be very cold towards each other. We would be very analytical towards each other. And you can see this throughout your own life, how some people live in their ego. Some people live in their emotions. What that means in a deeper level is some people think that they are only their thoughts. Some people live in their subconscious compulsions. They live, only experiencing, or being a slave to their reactions, only reacting to everything that happens around them. So how I came to these understandings was through a lot of study and research that I personally did, a lot. I believe in taking in a lot of data and then using all of that data to identify trends and identify variables that influence each other. So I'll get into that deeper in another segment, but to keep it brief, to keep it light, when we understand that we are not our ego and we are not our emotions, if you say something that upsets me, you are not like I'm not being upset. I am just experiencing the emotions of being upset, the feelings of being upset. If you say something to me that hurts my ego, I am not feeling that. Like I'm not, like my ego's not me. So if you say you're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about and all of that, that's great. I'm just experiencing you saying that to me. So, being able to detach a little bit back from that, okay, and getting out of it is quite a good thing because it allows us to be unbiased and detached from the external that is trying to influence our internal. All right. So how I came to understand this and connect these dots wasn't through the positive in my life. It was through all the negative events. Because in the positive events, I don't see the same information that I see when I go through struggle, when I go through negative events, when things happen, to me or around me that aren't what I want it to be. Because that challenges us. When things go against us, it challenges us to choose how we want to react. Okay? Or we can choose to just react blindly, compulsively. All right. So what I really want to get into with this is an understanding of, well, how can we use that understanding that we are connected always to the universe? Now, you can look at that through string theory. Okay. So, when we get down to string theory through it all, what we're able to see is that everything is just vibrating strings from the stars, from the planet, from the trees, from other animals, from inanimate objects, to your desk, to your house, to your car. It's all made up of the same stuff. So we are always connected to everything through that understanding that we are made up of the same particles or the same strings as everything around us. Okay. So it's a little bit, we can go to the nth degree or the 10th degree of depth if we wanted to and really understand it intricately, or we can understand it superficially in terms of quite simple and basic. And I'm going to keep it quite simple and basic because it's quite a, there's a lot of information that you got to understand before it really starts to connect in. But when we keep it simple, we can connect with reasonability. What do we think is reasonable that's happening and all of that. So understanding this is understanding, okay, if I wanted to find out my life's meaning or the meaning to my life, right? So if my life's meaning is for me to be happy in life, okay, it's quite easy that if things go against me and, I lose my legs, for example, and I can never walk again, that's going to really drastically affect my ability to be happy in my present state with my present understanding. So I would have to reshape everything after that instant. Whereas we can make it so much simpler. So for example, I'll explain to you a bit about my meaning of life and what makes me feel fulfilled and happy in life and how I rooted it into basically an understanding of the universe. So simple. So for me, what makes me happy, the meaning to my life, what lights me up, what gives me life meaning is sunshine. is the wind, is water. It's experiences. When I put my hand out into the sunshine and I feel the warmth from the sun, that experience is what lights me up. Because what I realized was if I make my meaning within me, okay, and anything happens to me, it's all done and dusted. If I make my meaning into my purpose, or my meaning into my family, if anything happens to my family, my life has no meaning. Okay? Whereas if my life meaning and purpose comes from the sunlight, comes from the wind, comes from the water, comes from the trees, well, it's pretty cool. You know why? Well, it's simple. If the sun goes away, I don't have to worry, or life dies. All good. You know what I mean? If the wind ceases to be, there's no oxygen to breathe. If the trees cease to be, there's no oxygen to breathe. So I don't have to stress, because I don't have to worry. I'll be dead. Do you sort of get it? When it's these things that cannot go away, and if they go away, everything ceases to be, we're sweet, because we don't have to stress. All right? Because when is the sun going to go away? When is the wind going to go away? When are the trees going to go away? You know, when is the water going to go away? But it's also that all I need to do is go outside and feel the sun, and then I'm charged up and lit up. All I need to do is feel the water on me, and I'm charged up and lit up. All I need to do is take a deep breath in, and I've got oxygen. I'm charged up and I'm lit up. All I need to do is look out at a tree and I'm charged up. Do you sort of get it? When we can make these things our life purpose and our life meaning and all of that, what gives us that sense of, you know, being internally lit up, or what we validate as being the most important things to us in the world, okay, and in life, what we're able to do is we're able to simplify that the sun's always going to be shining. The wind's always going to be blowing. The water's always going to be flowing. The trees are always going to be growing. All right. I didn't mean to make that rhyme, but it rhymes pretty well. So understand that these are the things we should be rooting our validation of our life meaning and our life purpose, you know. But also in saying that, I've got a little process that I'll teach you, okay? And it's an understanding that if I'm made up of the same particles as the universe, okay, the same strings as the sun, as the stars, as the planet, as the trees, all right? I am not different from them. I am the same as them. And we're not saying that we are the trees, but we are made up of the same materials as the trees. Okay. Now it's not on the superficial level, but we're talking on the very deep level. But what it does is it allows us to be able to really root an understanding of we are not different. We are not disjointed from the universe. We are a part of the universe. Now, one thing I want to teach you and get you to understand is our concept of consciousness, our concept of who I am, of everything that I experience, is based in electrical impulses. Okay. And what happens to energy when it dies? Energy doesn't die, it dissipates, it reforms. Okay. And then it reconstitutes into a new form. So understanding that is an understanding that energy can never die. Okay. Just like, for example, we can never die in terms of, for example, my consciousness, my idea of thought is electrical impulses, which by definition are energy. Okay. So when we die, we what's the word? But basically we our form goes into energy in terms of, you know what I mean? Because we're always giving off energy, electromagnetic energy, and all of that. But basically, when we understand that we are a part of the universe. Okay, because we come from the universe and we go back to the universe, just like we are a part of the world. We come from the world and we go back to the world. Now, an easy way to understand this is to understand that my body, my cells, okay, what I consider me is a culmination of the food I eat. The food I eat is a culmination of the materials out of the ground. Therefore, I am made up of the materials out of the ground. Okay? So to do that, when we understand this and we have this sense that we are a part of the universe and not disjointed from the universe, what we're able to do is we're able to create and understand and use some psychological tricks to help us create self-love in any moment, but also to help us create very, very strong self-validation through language that we use. Okay, so an important thing to understand, okay, is in language, okay, we don't want to be in love. We don't want to love something. We want to be in love with something, because we want to bring it from being past tense or objective into subjective. Okay, because if I love something, it's objective. I love that object. Okay, whereas if I'm in love with something, that's subjective. I am in love with something. Do you get it? So it brings it into the present moment. Okay, so now what we got to understand is how do we use language, okay, of being in love with something to be able to create different states in our mind. Okay, and one of them may be that you may feel disjointed and alone. You may feel lonely. You may feel, upset, like no one loves you, abandoned, whatever it may be. Okay, and when we understand and use this language, for example, that I am in love with the universe, every aspect of the universe, all that has been and all that ever will be. I am in love with life, because life is the energy, without life, this idea of life, this idea of life within me, life force, whatever you may call it, okay, it was here before me, it will be here after me. It was here before the universe, it will be here after the universe. Because how could the universe exist if there was no life? For life is just action. It is just things happening. If particles are moving, that is considered life. You know what I mean? So we can use this language and this understanding to trick our mind and to be able to manipulate and condition our mind to get the results that we want. So one thing to understand is that, all right, I am in love with the universe, everything that has been, everything that ever will be. I am in love with life, because without life, there would be nothing. All right. And then when we understand that life is just consciousness, consciousness is just energy, because we've broken it down, because our consciousness is just electrical impulses, i.e. energy. So therefore, life is energy. The universe is just different particles, is different strings. Okay? I am particles and strings. Therefore, I am the universe, I am life. If I am in love with the universe and I am in love with life, by definition, the universe is in love with me because I am a part of the universe, and life is in love with me because I am a part of life. Do you get it? So these are a couple of cool ways that you're able to use language and language patterns and thought patterns to be able to influence our feelings, our beliefs, our emotions, our behavioral patterns. Okay. But more importantly to that, all right, what we want to do is we want to focus our language on manipulating it. Okay. So we want to artificially take out the negative aspects of our language. Okay. And we want to re-implant positive aspects of our language. Okay. So when we're able to do this in terms of, well, if I am made of the same materials as a tree, i.e., I come from dirt because I come from food. Do you understand? So a tree grows in dirt. A tree grows fruit. I eat fruit. Therefore, by definition, okay, when we go down the chain, by me eating fruit, I am eating the nutrients of the dirt. Therefore, I am eating the dirt. Therefore, I am the same as that tree. So if I understand that, that makes me feel more connected to that tree. Okay. And when I'm able to do that, well, what happens? Now I feel emotionally connected to that tree. Okay. So if I'm using positive conversations of, I love that tree and I am grateful for that tree for the oxygen that I can breathe, I'm able to do a gratitude practice that influences positive emotions within my body. All right. So that's an important thing, because if we root our self-validation only in ourselves, but also only in other people, we're limiting our ability. We're disjointing ourselves from life. Okay. And when we're connected to life, okay, we feel connected, we feel empowered, we feel associated with everything. You know what I mean? We don't feel alone. So understanding this gave me realizations that helped me to to hack my mind through psychology of understanding that, that language influences my beliefs. My beliefs influence my emotions. My emotions influence my feelings, and my feelings influence my biochemical responses, which is a cool thing. So when we're able to artificially do that, and when we're able to artificially find things or ways that by me loving something or being in love with something, okay, i.e., by definition, I am loving myself, I am able to give myself self-love, self-worth, self-validation. So it's a fun way that we're able to do that, but also we're able to lean into maybe a little bit more of spirituality. In terms of spirituality, isn't just believing in religions and believing in the pie in the sky, man in the sky, right? Spirituality is just believing in being connected to something more than yourself, i.e., if I am made of the same particles and the same strings as everything in the universe at the base building blocks, I am connected to everything in the universe. Now, the easiest way to understand this is to understand string theory. Okay, when we understand string theory, it makes things a little bit crazy in terms of how strings operate and how strings act. Okay, and then when we understand quantum physics, okay, we're able to understand the quantum realm and things that happen, like quantum entanglement and things like that, and all these different aspects of life that we're only just coming to realize, these different aspects of the universe. But when we understand metaphysics, which is how thoughts influence physical reality and physical matter, okay, what we're able to do is we're able to look at that and we're able to see the power of our thoughts onto our external environment. Now, the simplest way to put this and the easiest way to understand this is if I think positively, okay, if I believe positive thoughts and positive beliefs, if I have positive emotions, I will feel positive feelings. If I feel positive feelings, okay, my body will release chemical responses associated to those positive feelings. Okay, those actions will make me more positive, more happy, more excited, exuberant. By definition, if I am in that state, when I interact with the physical world around me, okay, and I'm walking down the street and I'm brimming with, positivity, happiness, I'm excited and exuberant about life, I will attract people towards me. People will want to be around me. So it will directly influence my external environment. Now, the easiest way to understand this is to understand it in sales. Okay, so if I'm always smiling, happy, excited, I treat you nice, I respect you, I'm talking to you, and I make you feel good just by being around me, you are going to want to be around me and do business with me. If I'm negative and I'm down and I'm disempowered and I'm angry and I'm blaming everything and I'm really negative, you're not going to want to be around me. You're going to want to get away from me. Look back into your own life. So when we're able to use these understandings of how our thoughts influence everything in our life, and then by definition influence as a knock-on effect our external environment, we're able to start artificially manipulating our thoughts in terms of we can now choose that I'm not going to have negative thoughts, or when I have negative thoughts, I'm going to detach from them and I'm going to implant a positive thought. So an easy way to understand this is, and I'll explain it through an experience I had, okay? And that was that when I was younger, when I was 16 and I was training to go to the military and I had to run 10 kilometers, okay? Every day I ran 10 kilometers to train to be able to pass the tests. Okay. What I used to do is I used to tell myself life sucks. And then I'm just going to be happy. And I just choose to be happy when life sucks. When things go against me and I have, what's considered bad luck or bad experience and all of that, I can just choose that, you know what? Instead of me being upset that I'm going to put myself in pain, instead of me being upset that life's going to suck for a bit, I can choose to say life's going to suck and I'm going to enjoy it. And if I just consistently tell myself that day in, day out, I will condition that response in. So this is an understanding in conditioning our mind, okay? Is our mind will believe the strongest thought. Now, we covered it in the last segment about synaptic pathways, okay? So if every time I experience pain, I force myself to think about positive things and I tell myself, you are happy, you're in pain, but pain is fun. I'm enjoying pain. This is fun. This sucks. It's so much fun. And all of that, what happens is over time, those pathways become associated with that event. So every time I feel pain, I start to smile. So that's a thing. And you got to understand, like when you go through a lot of pain in life, physical, mental, emotional, and you associate positive emotions to that pain, okay, as a result, every time you experience that, you become highly positive and you enjoy it. Just to the same, if you experience the slightest amount of suffering, pain, but your mind always says to you, I don't like this. I don't like suffering. I don't like pain. While you're experiencing it, I'm in suffering. This is not good for me. those synaptic pathways are going to become even stronger. And what will happen is every time you feel the slightest amount of pain, bang, your mind will take you to those emotions of feeling suffering, of feeling pain. Okay, so when we understand this, okay, and when we truly put the work in day in, day out, for months on end to recondition our mind and recondition our brain, what we're able to do is we're able to artificially, okay, insert different emotional states into different experiences. And this is really beneficial and really good, because what it means is that, when I get punched in the face, I start smiling because I'm in enjoyment, because I enjoy suffering and pain. Do you understand? So I choose to test myself and put myself through situations, but also when we're able to do this and we're able to interrupt that compulsiveness, that automatic response to pain equals negative, okay, and we're able to implant some awareness and some mindfulness practices, okay, what we're able to do is we're able to see that, well, pain isn't really anything, because how can my body understand pain? Now, it's a sensory response, but how does my brain understand pain as hurt? Because pain is just an electrical impulse telling me that there's damage in an area. Do you sort of see what I'm saying? So, like, for example, if my hand was cut off, I've never experienced that before. How does my brain know how painful that is? It doesn't. My brain doesn't have it wired into it that, having your hand cut off is XYZ of pain. No, my brain will create a response, and my psychology will either reject that response or my psychology will amplify that response. Have you ever noticed how we're so afraid to be punched in the face, yet when you get punched in the face, it doesn't really hurt? Why doesn't it hurt? Because you're in shock. Your brain can't recognize or doesn't understand the feeling. It can't comprehend it in the moment. Pain, the aching sensation, pain, it comes after we get that shot of adrenaline. Do you sort of see what I'm saying? In the moment, your brain doesn't understand it. It can't comprehend it. You've got that much adrenaline going. So if your hand was cut off, your brain is going to dump a whole heap of adrenaline into your body to try and keep you alive, to try and, get it going. So whatever your psychology says, because your body doesn't understand the pain yet, it hasn't calculated or comprehended it yet, okay? So it's your psychology. So, for example, okay, your psychology, right, is I look down and I see my hands being cut off. That's a bad thing. That's really painful. So my psychology is going to start telling my body and my brain that you're in an immense amount of pain. Do you sort of see what I'm saying? So we don't really understand the difference between what it is, but our psychology will create that. Our thoughts and our emotional states will create the outcome we want. So that's a very important thing to understand, is when we understand it from that perspective, and then we're able to look at it and say, well, maybe emotional pain, mental pain, physical pain is just a construct of my psychology, of what I determine is how painful it should be, how painful it shouldn't be. Now, for example, I can give stories of pain, but I don't feel pain like most people, for example, because it sucks, but it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? I've jumped off roofs, fractured my foot while working, installing solar, and I've worked for 6 months every day while it healed with a fractured foot, climbing up roofs, walking on roofs, lifting. Do you understand? And it wasn't that it wasn't painful. It's just that it wasn't as painful as everyone else said. To the same, I've broken toes and then walked, 5, 10K, and it was painful. Every step sucked, but it wasn't the end of the world. Some people in life feel pain and it's the end of the world, right? Other people feel pain and it's not the end of the world. What makes it different? It's just your psychology. It's the associations you give to it. So really understanding this and understanding the power of our psychology to determine our situation, okay, is an important thing, because then when we move over to our self-validation and we understand that our psychology is what's dictating how we validate ourselves, the meaning we're putting behind the narrative of, I'm not worthy. I should listen to other people. These people know more than me. And all of this, I'm not good enough. Okay. When we can start to validate internally and say, well, what is, good for me? Who do I want to be? What do I want in life? What makes me happy in life? And we determine. What we're also able to determine is in the negative outcomes is this really that bad? Is this the end of the world? Is this something that takes away from me, that lowers me? And it's very important to understand, because for me personally, okay, nothing bad ever happens to me because I live such a, sheltered life. For example, what's bad to me might be, losing money. But it doesn't mean, like, if I lose all of my opportunities for work, does that mean that I'm less of a person now? So if I lose my job and now I'm in what's considered a high stress situation, how am I going to pay the bills? I'm in debt. Okay. Well, I still have the same skill set. I still have the same abilities. I can go out and create my own opportunities. I can do this and that. Like, nothing's been taken away from me. But sometimes we can get into those situations where we become disempowered, and we get into a disempowered state of, this has happened to me and my life's over now. But it's just your psychology tricking you because of the narrative up here, because the narrative we're telling ourselves. Do you understand? Our narrative determines our life because we understand through stories. So if you ever notice, most times, okay, we've got narratives running in our mind of what should be, what is. But when we're validating externally, then we feel the judgment of other people. We fear the judgment of other people. Oh, I've lost my job. What are my parents going to say? I've lost my job. What is my partner going to say? What is my landlord going to say that I can't pay the bills? How am I going to eat? This and that. And we start creating and like making our problems bigger, exaggerating our problems to where they become life-threatening to us, of my life is over. And unfortunately, we see this a lot in suicide, where no one really knew that these people were going through these things until it's too late. And generally what they're going through isn't always the worst thing. If we're bullied in school and then this person is bullied in school and then they go and they kill themselves, like, there are so many people that actually cared about them. They just couldn't see it. They over amplified the negatives in their life. just to the same, you know, if there's, you know, a family and the father loses the job and they've got no money and all of this and he can't get work and then he kills himself, majority of people would give you a job rather than see you kill yourself. Like, that's the thing, but we don't reach out, and we make ourselves, we sort of entrench ourselves in these islands of solitude where we create these barriers to where we don't or can't reach out to get, you know, get the help that we need. And that's a very important thing, is we got to understand that all this external environment doesn't really mean anything internally. So if I lose my job, if I am bankrupt, if I have no money, if I have nowhere to live, you know, it's going to suck, but it's not the end of the world because I'm still alive. I still have the knowledge. I still have the power of my mind to be able to do this. But what happens is, because we've been conditioned to validate ourselves from the external environment, in our external environment, in our peer groups, we feel so much more pressure than when we're just validating within ourselves. And that's one of the things to understand, is that self-validation on the positive side has so many great things. When we fail on the negative side to validate ourselves, it can amplify ourselves, because then we start to stress and feel judgment, feel fear, feel all of these other things. Okay, we have the societal pressures of we should be here, we should be there in life. This is the life we should live. And it's very important that we find ways to being able to process and deal with our situations, but also in ways that we can connect ourselves to others, to the universe, to life around us. You know what I mean? Because truly, to be happy in life, we usually only need such a small thing. If we have food, if we have shelter, if we have security, if we have opportunity, if we have, you know, collaboration, friendship, love, we're good. We don't need everything else. But society tells us we have to have money. We have to have material success. We have to have material fame. We have to have large amounts of people around us. You know, we have to have external validated success. And it's all just a scam, because it doesn't really matter. It's just the shackles of our mental slavery that have been put on us from society. And that's what we need to break, is that mental slavery of feeling like we are not enough unless we have what they give us. So unless we have the version of success that society gives us, we will never be successful. Unless we have the version of material success that society demands, we will never be happy. Unless we have, you know, the life that society wants us to have, we'll never be happy. For me personally, in my life, what makes me truly happy is walking through a forest. That makes me happier than all the money in the world. You know what I mean? Because it's just, that's where I feel I belong. So whenever I'm in the forest, all my worries go away. Whenever I'm in the forest, I'm reconnected to everything around me. The trees are so beautiful. The sunshine on my skin, the wind blowing in my hair, the rain, everything. So that's the thing, is we have to find these, like, what are the core things that you need in life that recharge you and make you happy? They're the things you need to root your self-validation in, the things that give you meaning. Maybe it's to make people smile. Maybe it's to make people happy. Maybe it's to have a healthy family, you know, to have a happy family, to have a family that is, you know, secure. Maybe it's to have your version of financial freedom, whatever that may be. Maybe it's to have the freedom to live how you want to live, to express yourself how you want to express yourself. That's what we have to figure out. But what we have to do is we have to root it, one, within ourselves, but also we have to find the base element, the base level that we can root it in, so that we can get it whenever we want. So a tip to you from me is learn to love the sunshine. Learn to love the wind. Learn to love the water, the trees, the birds, the smallest insects around you. Learn to love the little things in life, and you won't need anything big to make you feel happy. All right. Well, that's this segment done, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much.